Hi, I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Anna.
And we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
Hello, it is Sunday and it is June 2nd, 2024, and this is our 51st episode, and we're glad you're here with us.
Yeah, welcome everybody. This episode, we have a lot going on. We're going to first reveal the winners of our Sisters Photo Challenge.
So fun. Thank you for playing along. That was really fun for us.
We're going to talk about what we're wearing. We have 3 framed pieces to show you, 2 new, 1 old. We're going to share whips, plans, shared supplies. We're going to get curious about maker's marks, not the beverage, but the symbol.
Maker's mark?
I think maker's mark is a kind of like whiskey or bourbon or something like that.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
And then we'll end with our thumbs up. So let's go.
Okay.
All right. Let me put this against the board just in case I think this will be fine. All right, last episode, we showed this picture of the 5 sisters. For anybody that's new, we are sisters and we're 2 of 5 sisters. Here we are. This would have been 1972. I guess we didn't date it. And we just put out the question, which sister is Carolyn and which sister is Anna? All right. Do you know how many people responded? Like essentially,
I didn't count how many. I would say 30 at least.
At least. Only 5 of you got it correct. So we'll talk about what those 5 are going to win. But should we first want to reveal?
Yeah. Why don't you say you and I'll say me.
Okay. I'm this person right here. I love this is culottes. Some people are like the person in the orange dress. I'm like, not a dress. Culottes. Or jumpsuit, whatever you would have called it.
I think we call it culottes.
It wasn't, but you know what? It wasn't. I think culottes might have had like the skirt that went in front of it. I forget. Anyway, whatever it was like a little mini jumpsuit.
I notice how short all our hems are. No
I love that thing. Oh my gosh. I remember like wearing that a lot. So kind of fun. This is our youngest sister right here, the baby. She was born in 1972. That looks like the summer. So I was probably 11 going on 12, which is kind of fun because that was the age of the kids I just finished teaching.
Right.
So I wish I had shown this picture to them.
And it's even hard to see in this picture, but Carolyn had a lot of strawberry in her hair. Mm-hmm. It's strawberry, blondish, brownish, and a lot of freckles. She really read almost like a redhead. You were not a redhead.
I wasn't a redhead. I had different coloring than the rest of the sisters. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I am the person holding the baby. So I held a baby any chance I could get. I'm sort of still like that. So I'm sure I was like, I'm holding Lynn before that picture. Elbowed everybody
Tell the
out
story about your birthday wishes.
Okay, so when I was maybe 2nd grade, 3rd grade, I wished every year on my birthday cake for a baby sister. And I think I must have talked about it a lot because my mom actually had a little sit down, like a little psychology session with me about Dad and I are finished having children, and you can enjoy the little ones at church and in the neighborhood. And I think I was kind of obsessed by it. And then we were eating a barbecue dinner when Mom and Dad told us that they were going to have another sibling. And I remember I stood up and I said, "It's going to be a baby sister." And it was.
And I'm like, does this mean we can't go to the Grand Canyon?
Right.
We were in Virginia by that point.
Oh, for sure. We were in the back deck.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So thank you everybody for playing along. And I'm going to name the 5 winners, and let me tell you what all of you are going to win. So what I'd love for all of you 5 to do is I want you to go to Hillside Rookery, and I'm going to put a link to Hillside Rookery. It's an Etsy shop down below, and I want you to look through Hillside Rookery and pick a pattern that you would like. And then I want you to let me know what the pattern is in the designer, and then what I'll do is I'll go in and order that for you and have it shipped to you. So once you know what your pattern is, email me or DM me. My preference is a DM on Instagram, and it's we.r.curiouscrafters. If you're not on Instagram, you can always email me at we.r.curiouscrafters@gmail. It's going to bounce back and tell you, nobody really reads this email, but I'll be reading it for the next couple of weeks just so I don't miss you if that's the way. So again, the pattern, the designer, and your mailing address, and I'll order that for you and get it sent to you. All right, so here are our 5 winners. No particular order. The first winner is, and I'll be scrolling these along the bottom too, L. Elliott, and your YouTube handle is L. Elliott3116. Next is Ann Ford, and your YouTube handle is Ann Ford6640. Next, we have Peg Coleman, or Peg C52. I'm kind of curious what that is. That was on there. And your YouTube handle is Peg Coleman 3707. Next, we have Catherine Adrian, and your stitching handle is Stitching in Costume. We all enjoy that FlossTube too. And then finally, Vicky, and your YouTube handle is Vicky in Kansas 1399. So congratulations.
It's a fun gift, Carolyn. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, so it was so fun, especially when we had so few winners. I'm like, everyone who got it is going to get a little something. So again, Hillside Rookery on Etsy. Pick your pattern designer, and then let me know that with your mailing address. And that pattern will be sent out to you. Okay,
Great. And for our next video, we're thinking of doing a Stitch with Us style video. So we'll be stitching something and just chit-chatting and answering any questions that commenters put into the comments. We have some from last video. So if there are any questions that you would like to ask, pop them in the comments for this video too. And we'll collect all those questions and answer them.
Yeah, and then we'll do what the Hathaway Stitchers did. They just had a little jar and they would pick out a question and read it. So in no particular order.
Okay, great, good. I really have no idea if I'm going to be able to stitch and talk at the same time. I'm gonna give it a try.
I love their video when they did it. I'm not sure they got a lot of stitching done.
I have to go back. I think I saw the very beginning of the video,
but it was just really fun, kind of just watching them and even just seeing how they stitched.
I do like watching people's hands move. To see people's techniques. Yeah. It's one of the things I love about the Vanna Pfeiffer videos or the Katie Strack. Anybody, or Susan Stanley, anybody who's showing how they do things.
Well, let's remember in that video, let's also just do like a quick little inset video of each of us stitching too, so we can show that along the way.
But don't you already know?
Yeah, I'm going like this. But it is still fun to see you, because I think you're probably a little bit more of this too as you're working along.
I feel like I've gone back to more of that style than
this. Yeah. And I realized there's a way when I do the stitching, I use this index finger as a way to sort of
And you're very vertical with your needle.
I think, yeah. So I think that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. We're giving too much away.
We do episode notes that we look at, and it's in a Google Doc. So we have my laptop's right down here, and we're down to the section called Toast. Just blank.
Let's just toast to the cross stitch community, the fun of sharing our ideas and getting to know each other. How about that?
Let's do that.
All right, good. We discovered these when we were in Arizona, the Topo Chicos with lime and mint.
Yeah.
And we found that they're sitting in our Safeway. And we either they're a new product, or we never noticed them before.
It's interesting because I'm very on mint. I know you love it.
It's way up
But
there.
this is the right amount. It's just it's like a hint, and it just cuts the pungent lime in a good way. Toasting you all.
I'm thirsty today. I've been to the park this morning.
Oh, you did? Which park did you go to?
We went to Hoover Park.
Nice, that's a good one. Anna, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing the uniform cardigan by Mattermade. We're laughing because at
this point, I think
maybe the 4th or 5th video when I've had this on. But it's my throw-on sweater. We have a beautiful, pretty warm day, but it's breezy, and so I was a little chilly this morning, and then I was warm, and then when I drove over here, I put it back on. It's back on and off, depending on even where I am in the yard.
Yeah. I mean, I think California climate, at least where we are, the temperature can range like by 20 to 30 degrees really commonly, right from the beginning of the day. So often we'll wake up and it might still be mid 50s or high 50s, and then it can get up to like 80 during the course of the day. So everyone's like, California's all about layers.
It really is. And Carolyn, what are you wearing?
All right, I'm wearing the Sadaltna crop, and it's designed by Caitlin Hunter, and her designing handle is Boyland Knitworks. And this is a cropped, you can see it, little, this is an interesting sweater because I'm not sure how I feel about sweaters that don't cover your arms.
I love this sweater.
I mean, I like the look of it, but it doesn't always, like when I feel like I, again, need that layer, to me, it's not quite a layer because it doesn't cover my arms.
I think because I have claustrophobic tendencies, I like the feeling of a vest, and I like the feeling of this kind of thing.
Okay.
Then my arms are out.
You're right. Okay, so it's more like a vest. I should try this over, like, I know you do that sometimes. You have more like a tighter, like long sleeve
I think that would look fabulous.
And then this goes over. Oh, I should try that. Okay.
Almost like a lingerie or underwear style, like really fine sleeve.
Like you probably wouldn't wear the shirt without something over top of it.
I think that would look great.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to try this. The yarn is Farmer's Daughter. She's an indie dyer, and this is her Juicy DK. And it was fun. I bought this yarn in Brooklyn. There's a really wonderful yarn shop called Brooklyn General Store. And when my daughter-in-law and son used to live in Queens, my daughter-in-law and I would go there every time we traveled. And so she helped me pick these colors. So I really have special memories about this yarn there. Okay, I think we'll probably do a catwalk. Who knows? If we do if we do a catwalk, here it is. Welcome back. All right, we have 3 FFOs to share.
I can't wait to see yours. Carolyn has not, she did not tell me, would not tell me which pieces she sent off to L&M Framing. So I'm very curious.
In the last episode, I told you I had sent 2 pieces to L&M Framing, and we were framing at Anna's house that day. I literally got back to my house and there's a package right there at my door from L&M Framing. I almost opened it and then inserted something into the video, but I'm like, no, we can wait.
Which is funny because a couple of months ago, we received project bags from Becky's House of Sewing.
That's right.
Right after we finished filming here.
Yeah, I think that,
literally right after.
The delivery person, I could see them go up the walk and drop it off like while we were filming. Okay. The first one I got back is Songbird Sampler, and you'll see it in a minute. This is a design by Artful Offerings, and this is a piece I stitched for Anna, and it was maybe like my third or fourth piece I ever stitched, and you'll see I got it from Country Sampler, and it was a Country Sampler conversion. I was really lucky one year, must have been 2021, we were driving across country, camping across country, and I went to Spring Green and stopped here and I said, you can pick one project. And I picked this one. So here it is. Oh, yes. This is a very simple.
How did she get the wrinkles out?
I know. You know what? I think it's not a wrinkle. I think it's a dye line. But you can still see there's one.
It's not as apparent.
There's still one. And so I think sometimes the dye maybe gets in there or something.
Well, that happens when you wash linen sometimes, sewing garments.
Yeah.
You can get a wrinkle in. That looks so good.
So this is really interesting because, again, Country Sampler really changes up the colors. So this was their conversion. And the linen, I can tell you, was Winter Brew, and then they used overdyed cottons for the things. And I don't know if anybody has ever noticed, but our little logo on YouTube and Instagram is a little circle with 2 little birds, like for us, 2 little birds. So it was a photo from this.
Because when we started our Instagram, we had about 2 or 3 things
I
to
know.
choose from that
I
were
know.
already stitched.
I know.
And I'm attached to it.
So,
Carolyn, thank
really
you.
fun.
It looks fabulous.
So that's for you.
Thank you. Oh,
And all these, when I ordered them, I said no glass, and there's an option for padding, and it actually has a little.
I like it.
It's like a little bit more padding than I was expected, but I like it. It comes out from the frame a little bit.
See if you can get the cross section. Oh, it's hard to show.
The one thing she's really wonderful is she sends you photos of the frame and on the piece. My one, not regret, I wish I had picked something that was more black. Because
I can't quite tell in this
I
light.
know, that's what I realized. I thought I had picked sort of like a washed out black frame, but it's actually brown with some black
It looks
on it.
Yeah, it's hard to see in the light.
So it's hard to see. So I think next time I'll either very specifically say like I want a black, or I'll be like, I'll question a little bit more and say, oh, is that one black? Is it brown? I think it still looks good.
It looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so that was frame
Where am I
number
going
one.
to put it?
I know. Yeah, that might look good with your BH 1820. Like starts kind of hanging them together. All right, the next one I framed was, it's a heartstring sampler, and it was Winter Comes. And this was an exclusive that was done through that Facebook group, and it was the items were sold through Acorns and Threads in Portland. We just happened when we went to Acorns and Threads, she had one, like the whole thing was over, and she had one kit left for the
We've
one.
had so many nice things
I
like
know,
that.
and I'm like,
the last couple
it was
years.
like just a lark, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy that, and it was for the smaller version of the sampler, which didn't have any words. It was just a scene. I had so much fun stitching this, and I think Janine, the owner, right? Janine?
Yes.
Janine. She was talking about how fun the border, and it really was fun to stitch. So here is that finished piece. And same thing, I got it no glass.
Now,
And
is that brown?
yeah, this is browns, and I like it because it's two-tone brown that brings out the two-tone browns. This one I specifically asked for something brown. So we can get that a little closer.
Did you say anything about the width of the frame that you wanted?
Pretty much I sort of said, I think when I asked, I said more narrow and sort of simple and basic. So I actually think this one works really well.
Oh, it's really nice to see them both. There's just something about that fully finishing, just like...
Yeah. And we've now had, I think, I'm really happy with the results so far from L&M Framing. There is her. She's on summer break right now. The one thing I'll tell you, the other thing is I can tell these are not wood frames. So that might be something I have to decide, do I prefer a wood frame? And if so, ask for that specifically. But the price point is really good. So I'm happy to share. Both of these frames were about $75 for the total thing. Everything, the frame, the lacing, everything, which to me is reasonable. But again, no glass, and the frame is not a wood molding.
I think when we first started fully finishing and we started thinking about framing, I was thinking I was going to frame most of my pieces in a very similar way. And now I feel like I'm not going to do that. That it's been fun to try a bunch of different things.
I already have this hanging up in one of our spare bedrooms where we keep our craft supplies. Call it the J room in our household. This looks good. I'm just gonna. I think too,
always liked that
when
one.
you get something back, you have the memory. Like I loved stitching this so much.
And did you start it on our New Year's Eve trip up to the Presidio?
This is my New Year's start 2022. Right when we were up in the Presidio.
I was back up there again yesterday.
Oh, you were?
If you ever visit the San Francisco area, I just cannot recommend highly enough the Presidio Bowling Alley, Tunnel Tops Park at the Presidio, Crissy Field, and you have a fabulous view of the Golden Gate Bridge on all of those locations.
Yeah.
There's just so much to do.
There's a really beautiful in that area too, just a big grassy field that slowly slopes down. So it's a great place to sit. They have food trucks there often. Good bathrooms.
It's always high on our list.
It's like,
Is there
a public bathroom nearby? So, how's the weather
Wow.
up there yesterday?
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was a little windy, but it was sunny and you could see the bridge and the water was sparkling and it was incredible.
Good. Okay, so let's see your frame piece.
So I was dating my husband as a teenager into college, and at college I used to cross stitch. I cross stitched for a little bit in my late teens and my early 20s, and then I didn't cross stitch at all for a long, long time until 2020 Stitcher. And my husband went to the Naval Academy for college, and so I cross stitched him.
Your boy, he was your boyfriend.
Sorry, my boyfriend. Yeah, in college. I remember I would go to a fraternity party, dance, have one beer, and then I'd come home and cross stitch. I'd be the only one on the hall. And I remember giving it to him too, and he was like, "Thanks." Anyway, I thought we didn't have it anymore, and I found it in the garage.
That's awesome.
A couple of days ago, and here it is. So it brings back so many memories, and our grandfather, who was an incredible woodworker, made this walnut frame, and I think he framed it for me. It's open a little bit. He just taped my Ada cloth in there. And,
okay, can I see in there? Okay, so
but there's a little puff. So like he took real good care of me. I have a couple of frames from our grandfather, and some of them have things in them that I don't hang on my wall. Some of them are huge.
Oh, really?
So I'll show them to you because I have enough to share. Because I thought, what if I took those to a local framer, and asked them, once I had a dimension of something, I knew I wanted to have them cut down and to frame some of our cross stitch.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because I went through a stage where I was framing kind of like posters. Oh. So they're that big.
Oh, and would he yeah.
And so I lived in the same city as him for a series of years. And so he did a lot of that kind of stuff for me.
Yeah. He made all kinds of great frames. You know, we'll have to remember to bring our little needlepoints. Our grandmother made us, all the girls, like a little needlepoint, and then he framed them, so it's her needlepoint in his frame. So, yeah. In fact, I think everything but upholstered items he made in their house. Right? He made tables, chairs. We all have like
desks, beds, dressers.
Yeah, he'd make the bed frame. Right? Yeah, pretty incredible. He had a really nice wood shop. And I remember when we'd go visit them, he'd always have a little project for us. Like I remember making a mirror with him once. I think I made a frame with him once.
It's really funny because some of the experiences you and Joan had, like you both went to dance class, and then Susan, I did not. I do not remember doing that with him. So he might have, like at some point, maybe like when there's 3 kids at the house, it just gets to be too much.
Do you remember as kids, they would take us 2 at a time? So like Joan and I would go visit, and then I think you and Susan would go visit. I'm not sure we did.
Oh, okay. I could be forgetting.
You know what? Maybe they would take Joan and me, because we were like in elementary school, and I know sometimes John L., our cousin, would come with us too. Okay.
I'm not sure.
This is so not interesting to you all. If you get here and something's been cut out, we've just been talking about like family memories.
Shall we move to our whips?
Let's move to our whips. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my first whip is Emmeline Hotchkiss, 1846. And this I have continued to stitch on almost monogamously. I cannot stop. Here's where I was last episode. And I love going back and looking at these photos because I'm like, oh, I've done so much. Because when you realize. So, and here, let me show that pattern.
It just is getting better and better.
This came out at Market this year. The designer is Kathleen Littleton, Cross Stitch Antiques. And here's where I am.
So beautiful, Carolyn.
Trying to get the linen in a good light.
It's a little more yellow, I think, than it's showing.
Yeah. The information on this one is I'm stitching it on 40 count Madeline, and this is by Miss Crescent Crowned Linens. I'm gonna pause for a second. Have you watched the Paisley Stitcher's most recent video? She's been doing this series of FlossTuber for a day, and her most recent one had Sharon, who is the founder of Miss Crescent Crowns Linen, and before that she did Crescent Color Works, the thread
colors, yeah,
Crescent Colors. Go watch it. First of all, she's super fun, but she tells you the story of how she started the business of her floss. And it's just so interesting. Again, the story of like, I'm just starting a little something small, and before you know it, you have like 15 employees. So really great story. So this is her linen. And then the thread, I'm using the Call for 103 with a few added colors. I'll show that in a minute. Stitched 1/2, and it's the stitch count is 261 wide by 187 high. And there is a fun sal going on that I've sort of jumped into called Stitching Emmeline. I think that's a really cute name for the sal, Stitching Emmeline. All right, so I stitching last night and my borders met up. It was right in this corner.
Like, was your heart literally beating faster?
No, I was pretty confident.
Oh, that happens to me when I start getting close. I can feel my heart.
This border is so symmetrical, I thought I would catch it. But what I decided is I would have it meet down here, because if it was off, I thought that would be really easy to compensate.
Can I see which part? Okay.
So once I got this last bit, I counted to make sure it would match. So let me show you the beautiful silks. This just makes me happy every time I look at it. Last episode, I was talking about this color and how it's sort of like a yucky color, but how it makes everything look good. And somebody in the comments said, I would call that color muddy. And I thought that was a great...
Didn't you make an analogy to quilting too?
Yes,
or something?
I thought that was a great color. So this is the red that's used throughout the sampler, but I decided for the border, which has all the little red, if you want to just hold that for a second, I went to my Katie Strachan silk things, and I pulled out 2 Gobelins that are also reds, slightly different, and sporadically I've just put in these as the buds, and I know where they are. I can see them.
Yeah, they're less obvious than I would have thought by looking at the spools. Let's see if you all can spot some.
And my goal was just to have, whether you knew it or not, just a little variation in that such a repetitive border around it.
I think you're having so much success with that. With the fruits on some of the plants and in the border.
Yep, and the lemons and lemon tree. I think I called this an orange tree, and another commenter who's from this part of Canada, this is a Canadian sample, it was really fun. She said it's probably a peach tree.
Or an apple?
Or an apple tree. She said those would be common trees. So I'm going to think of that as a peach tree. But I thought that was really neat. She's like, there's no way it'd be an orange tree in Quebec.
Well, then would there be a lemon tree?
Oh yeah, I wonder, maybe these are like apple.
Maybe this is our California.
I know, it's our California influence on that. Next thing I want to just talk, again, I've worked almost exclusively on this piece. In fact, I've worked 32 days on it, stitching.
Wow. Oh, it's fun to have that tally.
Yeah, and it's in my book of days. And one thing it also made me think about, this is not a huge sample. I'd say it's probably a medium. I think as I've stitched more, I'm a little slower to start something, because I realize, you're putting in a big commitment when you start something. If you're starting with the intention that you're going to finish. I know some people start just knowing, I'm just going to start to be part of the piece and to do a little bit maybe, and knowing like I probably won't finish it. So it kind of makes me think like, this will still have more to stitch on it.
Yes, and this matches in all of your years of crafting. You're pretty serious about finishing your things. I'm a little bit more of like, I don't always think about that, and I'm going to start this. And
yeah. So really enjoyed this. And then finally, I'm calling this version of my Emmeline the Quills. Our paternal grandmother, her first name is Quill. I'm going to put her full name and birth and death dates in here. And then there are 3, including me, descendants of Quill, whose middle name is Quill. So I'm just going to put our initials and birth year, kind of sprinkle that, find an open spot on the sampler and put it. So I'm guessing all of those things are going to be over 1, which I've done very little over 1 before.
Oh, you're very fun.
Which I made fun, but it makes me think I'm going to go, the personalization on the Emmeline is done in this red. So I'm going to just look at it in our Swassifine, because I'm thinking over 1 on 40 would be best to do with Swassifine.
By the way, speaking of that, somebody said, because our last video was swa means silk, which was something I hadn't realized. Someone said that surfine means super fine.
I know, I love that too. Oh, good. I'm glad you added that in. All right, Emmeline. Stitching Emmeline is just bringing me so much joy. This was also, got a special gift at the attic where somebody, when we had gone for our attic trip, had really generously left me a gift certificate. And this is the project I picked, plus a little notions thing. So I think the other reason I'm so attached to this project is it's also just a reflection of like generosity and kindness to me. So that
definitely,
that means a lot.
That little element of surprise.
Yeah. Oh my God.
To walk in the store and have someone say, There's a gift certificate here for you.
It was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm gonna also FFO this, I think as soon as I finish it. I'm just gonna keep it going, and I'm gonna do it in a floating frame. And I'm gonna hang it on. My house is really colorful. I have an orange wall. I'm gonna put it in a really simple floating frame on the orange wall.
Great.
That look good. Okay.
Speaking of on the wall, I was watching Quaint Rose Needle Art.
Quaint Rose
Macy. Behind her, she has this whole wall, a dozen pieces maybe, that are pinned on foam core, and then she just used like the 3M Velcro to put them on the wall. So they are not framed at all. And she may frame them at some point, but this is just how she displays them.
So she goes ahead and she laces or like gets it on its board.
It looked super cool.
Oh.
It looked very sort of modern and because she had different colors of linen, it just looked like this beautiful collage. And in a way, without the frames, I felt that they sort of blended together in this way. It was almost like a quilt.
Yes.
So take a look at that, everybody. I was really inspired by it.
Yeah, that's neat. All right, Emmeline Hotchkiss. Stitch it, it's fun.
All right, what I worked on, realizing I'm talking while I'm looking away, is the Feathered Nest Pin Key by Stacey Nash. And I bought the Katie Strachan kit for this. So this is the Katie Strachan colors. This is the Stacey Nash colors. And it has those two sides. It has the bird on the front and the geometric on the back. Since our last video, I've had many, many days where I haven't stitched at all, which is very unusual for me. And everything is fine. It's just been, I had a little vacation and just totally so pooped at the end of these end of the year school days sometimes that I just wanted to watch a little TV. I just couldn't even get my stitching out. So I added a little bit more to the bird. So I have some more strawberries up here. And I finished.
That looks so good.
The back.
That looks so good.
This part was so great for my brain. Sometimes I would even just do like 1 or 2 threads of Gobelins, and I feel like I really have my tensioning down when I'm using Gobelins. I sort of hold it tight with this finger on the back, and hold it tight with my thumb. Is it my thumb? Yeah, in the front. And by tensioning, I mean I find Gobelins a little bit slippery, and it sort of will sort of pop up. So as I'm waiting to do the next half of the stitch, I like to sort of hold it tight and then put the next stitch in. So it has been the most challenging thread of any that I've tried. And I feel like, I have the hang of it now.
I love Gobelins too. I feel like these are both Gobelins, has a little bit more shine. And I think if I'm remembering from Katie has a fantastic video about all the silks, I think it's more like cylindrical. And I think that's why it doesn't lay.
This is exactly how it looks and feels.
I like Gobelins more than 103, the look, but they are hard to stitch with. But I think again, once you get your finger rhythm, like how you're gonna do that little extra bit of tensioning, I love it. Yeah.
So that's all I've done. That's what I've done. I shouldn't say that's all I've done. That is what I've done in the last couple of weeks, and still served that incredible purpose of, after a busy and sometimes hard day, to just do a little bit of stitching.
Good. I know you know you're busy when you at the end of the day and you're like, I really actually can't do anything.
Yeah. It's rare for me to feel that way, but it's not rare at this time of year. There's just the last weeks of school. I personally feel like I just need to be all in at school in a way that I probably couldn't sustain for the whole year, but I'm happy to do at the end of the year just because it just sort of feels right and good to do.
Yeah. I don't know for you too, that I feel like there's also a lot of special events at the end of the year. So more evening events, which are fun, but it just sort of makes your day longer for that. All right. And then I do have another whip, is I went ahead and I started a new project, and I thought this was really fun. There's a sale going on. It's called Stitch That Kit Challenge. And the idea behind this is turn those kits into whips. I'm reading a quote of what it says. Pick a kitted up project that's just been sitting around waiting patiently and start it.
It's cute.
So I did that. And what I picked it's called Big Folk Flower. And it still is an exclusive design to Kitten Stitcher. And I got this, it came out believe January 2023. The minute I saw it, I'm like, I bought it like right away.
I love it too.
And it came kitted with the linen and the DMC, and it also calls for a couple of weeks. Now the kits are no longer there, but I was just looking at the Kit and Stitcher website. It's still exclusive, but it's only $5 right now. It's in her $5 deal. So
that $5 section is fun.
I
Is
know.
that new for her?
Well, I think she's always had some of it, but I don't know. Has everybody heard she's moving?
How did you hear that?
It was in maybe her newsletter or on her site.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so she and her husband are moving to Allentown, Pennsylvania, where one of her son that just got married is there. I'm not giving you away anything that she's already said publicly. And I guess this house she bought has an enormous finished basement, so the whole company can go down there.
That
So,
must be so wonderful.
in
for
the
her to
process
look
of getting
forward
ready to move, I think she's clearing out some of her inventory so that she only just to minimize what she's going to move with her. So if you like this design, it's only $5 right now on Kit and Stitcher. All right. So here is my start.
What is this linen, Carolyn?
Okay, let me give you some details.
Did you already say it? I don't
No.
remember.
This is 36 count dark mocha by XG Designs. I know she carries a lot of XG linen. And then the threads, what I did is I started with the called for DMC and weeks, and then converted most of the DMC flosses to Roxy Floss Co. floss. So I'll kind of show you. Here's my palette.
I gotta look at it closely.
Yeah.
I love the way the pinks are looking on
Doesn't
this.
that look good? Mm-hmm. I know. So here are the flosses I'm using. And I did keep 2 of the DMCs that I didn't find a good conversion. And I'm just going to put a picture right here of my process of converting. And if you can see, what I end up doing is I put my DMC and I lay the DMC out on the fabric, and then I just start pulling floss that I think would be a good substitute for that. And often I'll have like 3 or 4, and I'll put them down and kind of make a choice. So there was one, as an example, there was one DMC that was actually darker. In fact, let me get the DMC out. It's buried here, a bag in a bag, my favorite. Oh, a bag in a bag in a bag. This was the called for DMC. It's kind of like a reddy, maybe a touch of pink and a brown, okay? And it goes a lot. This is one of the weeks that was in this kit. So it goes a lot with that. And I found I had this one that I thought was a fairly good match, a little bit more orange. And once I put it next to this, you can see it has some pink in it. Mm-hmm. So I ended up picking 2 in the family that I thought were really nice pink versions, but are lighter.
It's my favorite part of the piece
and
so far.
The way it's used is it's used with the red in the flower and in the bunting around here.
This reminds me of a Fracture piece, but it also looks different to me than a Fracture piece. Does Teresa Kogut say anything about the inspiration or?
I didn't. I'm not sure I read the whole thing, but it's sort of red Fracture, and I think that's what appealed to me. So if we look at my piece, inside the heart, for example, is the called for red, and the first layer of color in the bunting is the called for red. And then the next layer in the heart is the darker of my substitution, and then that's the lighter of my substitution. And I think I'm going to use, I like both those colors a lot with the red and with the others, and I'm just going to sometimes use the dark and sometimes use the light for that.
Great.
It's just fun. I love Roxy Floss, and I've had so much fun.
Now you probably
converting.
held up this kit at some point, unless you didn't share it in a video, because it's not looking familiar to me. I've looked at this chart before, but I'm surprised, but I could have forgotten.
It would have been like, well, if it's January, I think it came out, January 2023. That was just last January when I was on sabbatical. It's funny, maybe I never showed it when I had the kit.
I guess we could tell from our notes.
So I thought that was fun. I thought that's a fun sal, is to go look at the things you have kitted up. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, I forgot I had this. I'm gonna start.
That's a tempting sal.
I know, isn't it fun?
I might join.
Join, yeah, do that. And then the other thing I wanted to show, this is in a project bag that Anna made, but we also got this needle minder. It's like a little crow, funky bird. And actually, I think the $5,
I didn't see it.
I think the pattern includes the needle minder for $5.
So this might just be...
I think she just probably needs to get rid of the stock of this. Maybe it's sort of had its moment and it's come and gone for that. I think I also picked this. I'm going to tell a story about a crow.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen this. So I was walking one day and I was walking through this park and a crow dives down, hits me on my head, like purposely, boom. In fact, it didn't break the skin, but I had a lump on my head for like over a week. And then he flies up to a branch right ahead of me and looks at me.
Whoa.
So, first of all, I said, crow, that was not very nice. Then I'm like, okay, either I'm mistaken identity. He's like, that is not a good person right there, because I know I've never caused the crow any harm. Or it was maybe had like a baby or something around. It was in sort of like a wooded area, and I wasn't walking on a sidewalk. I was kind of cutting through the wooded area of this, and so I'm like, I bet there was a nest or some baby.
Some particularly vulnerable moment.
It was just so startling and surprising.
I'm surprised it actually touched you instead of just swooped down or something.
Like wonked me.
Yeah.
Like specifically. And I was like,
did it peck you, you think?
I think it hit me with its beak. Because at first I'm like, is my head bleeding? Like it was that kind of like impact. And then I was like, no, I just had a lump. And the lump lasted like a day. A week or so.
I've actually never heard that happen.
I know. So then when I saw this, I'm like, yeah, just to
remember that story.
Remember that crow.
Put it on your index card.
And again, I just remembered a crow meant me no harm. Well, maybe the crow meant me harm, but the crow was probably protecting something. But still, violence is not the way to go, crow. You could have talked to me reasonably. Caw! I know. Okay. Those are our whips. Plans. All right, what are your plans?
I really haven't been in the planning mood. I've been in the like day by day mood. But one idea that has popped in my head this past week is this: what would it be like to craft a 40-hour week? Like pretend it's my job. Pick a week this summer and get 40 hours of crafting in, and maybe like 9 to 5-ish.
Okay.
And I'd be curious: would I get tired of it? Would I get any repetitive stress?
Can it be, as you can tell, I'm a person that I'm like, you tell me a good idea, I'm like,
yeah, are you doing it with me? Let's pick a week.
Can you do other things like finishing? Can it be anything related to craft? Can it be like designing?
In fact, I might even sew a garment that week, or so just like, but take it seriously. Like wake up, have breakfast, start crafting,
and
stay focused, and not like go to coffee with a friend or anything like that. Like, I don't know whether my brain is thinking like, would I ever want something like that as an actual job? I don't think it's as much that of just, I think I'm craving long chunks of time. And I don't know. I'm just curious how it would feel.
That sounds really fun.
Okay. Well, as my plans evolve, I'll stay in touch.
It's kind of like how much I enjoy the like 12 and 12. Like you're just crafting all day. It's like, and this is not that we need permission, but in some ways it's sort of, if you're doing something like that, you're like, oh, I have permission to just craft all day.
So maybe it's some of that too.
And I'm not going to actually vacuum right now, or whatever. Okay, I like that idea a lot.
All right, what about you, Carolyn?
All right, I'm going to definitely finish Emmeline Hotchkiss. I probably won't put it down until it's done. I also have to chart out how I'm going to do the personalization and work on that. And then I'm going to just start FFOing her right away. Because I've been so into Emmeline, I've lost I was really on track with my yearly focus of Fruits of Plenty. And I was also picking a weekly focus whip that I stitched 3 days on every week. And that had been really fun and had done really well. But all of that just went to the side for the last 32 days that I've been stitching on Emmeline. So I kind of want to bring that back. And then one of my summer goals is I want to do a lot of FFOing. I did more of it on my sabbatical. What I did on the sabbatical, I just kind of had one thing going. And so every day I would do a little something on it. Maybe it was just like I'm blocking today, or I'm lacing today, and just kind of keep doing a little bit at a time. Kind of have a table, maybe have a table. I have a table set up right over there. Maybe just have that as my FFO table.
It is very appealing to me to not try to finish something all in one day necessarily. Especially if you block, it may not even be possible. But
yeah, because I also have a stage, like if I block it and I stitch a little border around it, and then I measure it, and then I order a frame. Like it can take get your frame. It can take, weeks to finish everything. So those are sort of my goals. And I'm in, I'll do your week, a week of stitching. Okay. Oops. All right, so we have a We Are Curious segment. So Anna mentioned this in the last video, but we're really curious about this idea of a maker's mark. Okay,
or a signature or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So what sort of got you thinking about it initially?
Well, definitely the conversation that Nicola Parkman had with, do you remember them?
Becky. I forget her last name.
Antique dealer. Anyway,
Yeah.
And I'm in agreement with, even if I'm stitching a reproduction sampler, I would also like to include something about the year that I finished it or my initials or something like that. And then I was watching a new to me floss tuber, Audrey. Is she Stitch Dish Bead at Stitch Dish Bead?
Oh yeah, I think she's Laura DeWitt's friend that she talks about a lot, Audrey. Yeah.
And she has a mark that she puts on her samplers. It's a lion and then a very wide A and then the last two numbers of the year.
Oh.
And sometimes she does it in a color, like at mine, you could do a red or something, and sometimes she does it the color of the linen itself. And my husband says that's feels like a watermark to me.
Oh, I never thought about doing it in the color.
And I have a group of girlfriends I craft with a lot, and they have been on me for years that I don't usually put a mark. Like I finish a quilt and I don't leave anything, like a note or initials or anything for me. And they're like, you need to do that. Mm-hmm. So this idea has been brewing for a long time for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what would I want? What sort of consistent something would I want to?
It's neat. Like a lot of people that can't physically sign something, like maybe you're doing ceramics or porcelain or leather or forging steel. I think they also use a maker mark as their signature because you can't really sign.
Think of all those beautiful tile makers. I bet you the tiles we got at Arizona have a mark.
I bet that they too. Or like Heath Ceramics has its maker mark. And some of them can be bigger. I think they have like a tool that they press it in. So for stitching, it's sort of interesting because it's almost like a little logo that is somehow commemorating you, sometimes a place and sometimes a date, I think, depending.
So I've come up with a few prototypes and I'm not sure any of them are quite right. The image of that love statue, there's one in Philadelphia that's like boo, 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 and the O is
Yeah, so it's like a square, it's in a square, right? Oh, yeah, so interesting.
James really wants me to put a bird because my grandmother name is Birdie, James, my husband. So I've messed around with a couple of things with that. Like I used to, I went through a stage when I was in middle school where I did this very stylized lowercase a. So, and then this is with two birds. And then I really like bunnies too. So it's very, very similar idea, but with a bunny instead of a bird. I need to stitch them. They might be a little sort of symmetrical. I might need like a little change in scale or a little something.
Do you envision stitching this over one or over two?
It will definitely be over one.
Okay. Because the one thing I was thinking about, I don't know about having a year that isn't telling you what thousands you are. Like, was it 1924? Was it 1824? Was it 2124? So what my first thought for, I think this is my favorite, is if these were over two, you could do like 2024 over one, and then that would be a change of scale.
Okay, also. Wait, I actually want to write that. Do you have a pencil on you?
Weird. Weird for me not to have a mechanical pencil nearby.
Yeah, I'll play with that.
I like that.
I don't know how I could figure out how to do that.
Yeah. So I'm also going to do, and I've been stewing. I haven't quite come up with my idea yet.
My first idea was,
I mean, I have a few things brewing.
Do you want to say anything yet or not? My first idea was some sort of cool fish and then have things sort of horizontal, but I just could not get a fish, at least yet. I could not get a shape of a fish that I was happy with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was also sort of enjoying the collaborating with James, and that he usually is like very happy that I'm cross stitching, but not that interested.
Yeah.
And he was interested in this particular thing. So
I like the bird. I like your bird that you have a lot.
Okay, so maybe I'll play, like I said, with the uppercase A, the bird, and make
something
this smaller in scale.
Yeah. I was also thinking about trying to think of a design, like, okay, my thinking, since my middle name is Quill and I'm very identified with a Q, doing something that is basically a Q with maybe like my other two initials there and some sort of motif, and then maybe have the date. I don't know. So I've been thinking a little bit with letters, something with a bit of a geometric motif to it, and then some way to incorporate the date. And sometimes I think I'll put the date. I don't want it to always have to be in the mark, because there might be some times where I have it someplace else in the sampler and I just want that to be like my mark.
Right. Which something like this would work okay, because you could just do half.
You could. You could.
I think a Q is a super interesting initial, and I almost wonder if you just do a Q with a design.
Yeah.
Like because you're going to put your index card on the back.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a whole summary. That's why I'm wondering if I kind of include too much. Like maybe I do just do a bird and an A.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was really into letterboxing I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and you make your own stamp and you stamp when you find things. And mine was a Q. I should go back and look at it, because it was a Q with some geometric. It was that same sort of a similar idea. So I think too that Kim Goldman, I think she has a maker's mark. At least I know she put one on a model stitch that she did for Hands Across the Sea.
Ooh, and let's go look for that.
And I think it was the same idea. And again, I love how this is jiving with how Nicola Parkman sort of started this conversation about reproductions and how do you make it slightly different so people in the future know 100 years from now that it wasn't, really that time period. And so I think Kim was stitching a reproduction, but she had a tiny little symbol that she put in the corner. I'm going to go back and look at that.
So thinking about that, like maybe depending on what I'm doing and how I'm marking, I could use all of it, just the bird, just some.
Yeah. Is there any way you could make the bird appear like it's perching on the top of the A?
I wondered if some of the things should touch each other. And when I actually tried that for a moment, but I should probably try it again.
Like I could see, particularly for this one, it's a natural, put the middle of the A between the bird's legs, feet, and it would sort of be sitting on there. And you,
I think maybe it kicked, because I was so into the square idea. It kicked the bird out a little bit.
It would have done that, right?
It broke the boundaries a bit. Yeah. But maybe that's okay, because I actually think this might be a little too neat and tidy and quadranty for the eye. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to end up sticking with that. I wanted to stitch it before our video, because I really want to see what it looks like. But
it's really interesting, because if you're putting something on the back of ceramics, you can make it as large or as small as you want it to be, because you typically have the whole back, at the bottom of a plate. Stitching, you've got to find your place. Where would it fit in the piece also? Because there's not always going to be like that bottom corner where there's space. I love the idea of sometimes stitching it in a ghost, because there, if you don't want it to pop up with a design, but you want your mark there.
It's the most appealing of the ideas for me now too.
Neat. All right, so thoughts, what about you all? Does anybody have a special mark that they use, or has anybody thought about this, or how do you sign your piece? Another thing, Anna, there's no reason why you can't do some back stitching letters. Like, what if your bird and your A were cross stitched, but the date was done in the back stitching, because then you can really fit in more detail in a smaller space.
Yeah, I think I at least right now in my stitching journey, I prefer a true cross stitch compared to a back stitch. But what I should just prototype. I should prototype 8 different things and see how that looks. Maybe I'll like it way more than I think, because it would have a different feel.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is what I think I'm missing.
I love this idea. I'm like all in.
Okay.
But it's like one of those things. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? You kind of want it to be just right, but there's no reason why your mark can't sort of evolve.
Right. We don't want. Like, I might even just try one of these on something I'm doing now, because I want to keep taking a step forward, and not be like perfectly sure before I touch any of it.
Yeah. Good. Would you go back and add it to things that you'd already finished, or is this only moving forward?
I had my first thought is no, I don't think so. Probably only moving forward, but I don't know. I've personalized some of my recent. I don't have a lot of bigger finishes, but the ones that I have finished, I have already personalized in some way. So probably not. Probably not go back. But we'll see. I'll make decisions when I have my 40-hour work week.
That's right. This would be a good project for your 40-hour work week.
It would be.
Yeah. All right. We have a few shared supplies. What do you got?
All right. I was on a little beach vacation, and the town had a couple of antique stores, and I found a spool. I know you all probably all have spools. It was $12.50. I have no idea if that's a good price or a bad price. This is it. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. Somebody has painted it blue. I like the color blue.
It is big.
It's big, and it's a barbell, and I own a spool.
It's like one of those things you roll yourself out for exercise.
So we'll see. If I can't figure out what I want to do with it, I'll give it away.
Okay,
I don't even know if it's real. How can you tell if it's real? I haven't even read anything about this, but I think I just really wanted to find something.
Okay, what if you did a round small? Put it right there.
Okay.
Or the long something.
I think I'm into this color blue too.
Oh yeah, it looks good with that.
Or people wrap stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's big.
School. This is the only thing I bought in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, I bought something, but I haven't gotten to it. I ordered Kitten Stitchers has a exclusive through the Scarlet House. It's called Mary Finley, and it was kind of fun. She goes, "It's like going to a retreat." We don't know what it looks like.
I am this close to buying that a couple nights ago, and I was like, "Oh, I don't even have the energy to do it."
Okay, so you could buy the pattern,
Yeah.
or you could buy the pattern with the MPI silks. I did the pattern with the silks, and I wasn't quick enough to read that she also had the linen. It was a separate thing to buy.
But did you put yourself on the wait list?
I put myself on the wait list.
Good.
So I'm guessing she says she has some more coming in. So I might just wait for that and then do it. So I have no idea what it looks like.
All right, I might join you with that.
You say the words Kitten Stitcher and exclusive, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm in.
And I thought the silks looked beautiful.
I like the colors. It was just fun. I like a good mystery. And I thought it was neat. It was a neat way of including people that can't go to retreats or whatever.
Do you know when it's coming? I mean, like,
no
is
idea.
it?
None. No.
Is it coming in the fall? Coming this summer?
No idea. It was like one of those things I'm like, that looks fun. Back to work. It's like at school there's no privacy. I'm like, can I order this before anybody sees what I'm doing? So that's it. That's all our shared supplies. We gotta get on it, Anna. We're really like lacking here.
I know. Let's buy some things.
I know we gotta buy some. Our last
That'll be part of my 40-hour work week too. I think this is just gonna become a big.
You can start your 40-hour work week to-do list.
Yeah. Thumbs up. All right, here we go. I love a good breakfast, and my thumbs up is just 3 things that are part of like a perfect breakfast.
Did you have them this morning?
I had them this morning.
Okay.
It's kind of what I make every time anyone's visiting. There's a holiday. Yeah, my son, my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter, one of the things we love to do is take walks for coffee or for them to come over for breakfast. So here we go. Buttermilk pancakes. Today we had the bacon and sausage duo. Sometimes we only have one or the other.
Do you cook them together in the same pan?
No, I do my bacon in the oven.
Okay.
And then berries. We had a big bowl of strawberries. Strawberries are so good right here, right in our area right now. And then another little bowl of blackberries and raspberries. Everything's just so flavorful. And oh my goodness. So pancakes, bacon, berries.
Okay. Thumbs up. Done.
So happy.
Done. Beautiful.
Your 3
All right.
thumbs
My
up,
first
Carolyn?
thumbs up is I'm all into college softball right now.
You are.
I'm all into it. One of the women I work with, she played softball when she was at Stanford, and Stanford right now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. In fact, she was played at the same time as the Stanford coach.
Cool.
Right now. Yeah. So really fun. So we went to a game when they were in their playoffs and they're now in the World Series for softball. So I've just been really all into following it. And it's really a great sport. And any kind of sport too, I love, like, if I'm going to follow it, I'm like going to be all in. So I've been watching a lot of the games, and you get to know the players a little bit and their stories. So it's been really fun. Yeah, a whole bunch of us also went to the game at Stanford softball field.
That was the weekend I was away. I would have been there with you.
That's right, because we all ended up sitting together. It was fun. All right, the next thing, that's a thumbs up, is we went to my granddaughter's dance recital yesterday. She'll be 4 in June. And this is a local dance company, a dance studio, where my son danced. He started dancing in 2nd grade, and he danced through high school. And the owner is still there. And it was so sweet. We got a picture last night of the owner, my son, and my granddaughter all together.
Oh,
just like
the history. Yeah.
And she's so fantastic. And this was it was called the preschool show. It was an hour, no intermission, and it was the preschool classes. And then plus they had the dance, like their dance company also do some numbers, everything from elementary kids through, there are actually a couple high schoolers. In fact, one's my student who did numbers. And then the kids that are performing, the preschoolers, they get to sit in the wings. So they're watching the show from the side, and no parents are allowed backstage. Like the older kids dancing kind of take care of the little kids. It's perfect. And then they came over to our house for pizza afterward, and my granddaughter was on like a performing high. She could not even sit down and eat dinner. She was so into it. So cute. I know. Well, I'll have to show you the video. It was really fun. So just, you know what? Just thumbs up to...
I've seen the video.
Oh, okay. Thumbs
really
up to just having a good time. Doing something that just is fun. And in fact, my daughter-in-law, she's sitting in the audience. She goes, do you think, A's going to be fine on backstage? Should I go back and check? I'm like, no, she's fine. This is like, they've never lost a preschooler.
They know what they're doing.
Over 30 years. And it's a time to mix the ages of kids, and that let kids watch kids. You know what I mean?
Okay. Oh, I do know what you mean.
All right.
Big fan of that.
My last thumbs up was, we just finished a really interesting year where the 6th grade was on a temporary campus for just 1 year. And we finished there. In fact, the kids, their last day, they were at the temporary campus. They helped us pack up. So when they left, we still had more to do, but there was a real closure for them. And on this last day, we got just kind of a fun team picture. We're all just hanging out. And one of the students gave us all a locket. And it said open, and inside, and I'll put a picture right here. This is just, it was not everybody on our team, but it was and it was all of us were just sitting on a counter. And so she gave that to all of the teachers.
So sweet.
And it just summed up, I've worked for over 40 years, and this team of people we had this year, by far the best team I've ever been on and a part of. And it's just a really nice memory. Mm-hmm. And now we're done. It's done. So that is a thumbs up, even though that sounds sad. It was so fantastic. Such a great year of working with them. Okay.
All right, until next time,
happy crafting.
And stay curious. We'll
Bye,
see
everybody.
you. Bye.